We start this hour with the ongoing situation with Greenland. And US President Donald Trump has intensified tensions over the world's largest island, claiming Denmark has failed to address the Russian threat in the region. On social media, Trump wrote that NATO has been telling Denmark for 20 years to remove the Russian threat from Greenland, but that Denmark was unable to act. Now, according to Trump, the time has come and it will be done. That's a direct quote from the US president. His comments come amid growing tensions between the US and Europe over the future of the strategic Arctic territory. The dispute continues to fuel debate within NATO and among European leaders. Joining us now to discuss this developing situation is Collins Chong-Yu-Keat. He is a foreign affairs, security and strategy analyst, joining us live from Kuala Lumpur. Thank you very much, Collins. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. Of course, Donald Trump has once again reiterated that the United States needs Greenland for national security. He's also made this bold claim about Russia and also China wanting the island, saying that Denmark has failed to protect it. Do these claims from the US president have any weight?
Definitely, it's an open secret that the increasing Russian and Chinese power presence in the Arctic for years now, and there's no credible deterrence, and there's no credible capacity to confront that, either by Denmark, either by Europe or NATO. And this is a reflection of this long-standing US frustration, of this chronic underinvestment, also the underfocus on Greenland's defense, and there's this limited Danish capacity to police or to safeguard the vast Arctic spaces also. And of course, this has been ongoing, and NATO has repeatedly warned Denmark for more than 2 decades now for the increased Russian power presence, the increased Russian Arctic resurgence ever since the mid-2000s. So we have seen how we have this lack of capacity or urgency by Denmark. As I've stated earlier, there's no credible efforts, there's no credible deterrent capacity being shown, and only Washington has the power to do that. And we have seen these recent moves by Denmark and other powers, including France and Germany, to showcase this combined synergy, combined power presence in Greenland, but it's too little, too late, and that if it reaches this move by President Trump, we have seen how President Trump is willing to prioritize Greenland over NATO. So there's no return, there's no positive returns from NATO to the US now as compared to Greenland. So if all it takes for Europe to double down on his stand to confront President Trump on his approach for Greenland, and President Trump is more than willing to forego NATO and to prioritize Greenland instead, saying how it will be of strategic importance to the defense and security of the US as compared to what NATO has provided to the security of the US as a whole.
Collins, Denmark and NATO have said that they're open to negotiations about increasing the United States' presence on the island. Why does the United States need to own Greenland outright, given the fact that Denmark, of course, is a NATO ally and it's held the autonomous territory for over 800 years?
There's no tolerance for any kind of control or presence by the US, other than a downright option to make it as the official territory of the US, seeing how the current enrichment has been inadequate in terms of of course allowing certain aspects of the military presence of the US in Greenland. But we have seen how the sphere, the sheer volume of the Russian presence now and the Chinese presence, and how Russia has now treated the Arctic as a core military theater, not a peripheral theater, in terms of hypersonic missile deployment, in terms of donor fleet expansion by Russia. And we have seen how there's this lack of urgency, there's this lack of capacity to confront that. And of course, also by owning Greenland outright, can it ensure the long-term security of the US and also the long-term security of Europe as a whole? And in protecting the sphere of the Arctic, if this is not done, if Greenland still continues under the current status quo of controlled by Denmark with this inadequate military capacity. This will open up new openings for Russia and for China to use that as a strategic front to expand the control beyond the Arctic. And this will spell doom. This will spell further risk, not only for the US, but also for Europe as a whole. And of course, if President Trump is to examine and to take into account this whole cost-benefit calculations, Greenland is strategically more important for the US. And if it needs for President Trump to withdraw from NATO as a threat, as a pressure to Europe and Denmark, to allow for this annexation or downright owning of Greenland, then we as well be that option, because as I've stated, Greenland is strategically more important to the US as compared to NATO, and this will spell even greater disaster for Europe and for Denmark if there's no Washington security umbrella for NATO, for Europe, and then it will be now exposed in terms of the Arctic security, in terms of the eastern flank in confronting Russia, and it will now be trapped in these multiple fronts in the Arctic as well as the eastern flank. So I would say that it is of great timing. Now is the time to ensure that there's this sustained and assured long-term US security presence by having this downright ownership of Greenland.
Collins, of course, Beijing and Moscow are watching this situation. How do you think they're viewing this Western infighting?
Of course, they have been, as I've stated, this is greatly welcome in terms of having this division internally in the Western Hemisphere, in the Western system, and this infighting among NATO members. And of course, also we've seen at the same time they have been wary of the different approaches, the no-holds-barred approach of President Trump in gaining control over Greenland. So if this is successful, and I foresee that this will be successful for this year, one way or the other, and this will also spell greater doom to both Moscow and Beijing, having gained this unchecked presence for the past 2 decades now, with literally no deterrent capacity by Denmark or by Europe. But now under President Trump, there's finally he has turned the tide, and this is the time where the US will now take over the foremost security geopolitical front in the Arctic. And at one time, on one hand, they'll be happy to see this infighting, but on the other hand, they'll be wary of how things might shape over Greenland soon, especially for this year, and to be to be under US control.
Collins, do stay with us as we move over to the ongoing conflict.